tell you how much I love Oh, you've been so good to me. Oh, I love you. Never cease to amaze me. Nobody can do me like you can. You see how much said I love you. I wanna take the time to say that you're brighten my birthday. How much I love you with all my heart and
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to tonight's webinar. My name is Michael Miner, and I am the National Director of the National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated, Hope Health Ministry. First of all, I want to bring you greetings on behalf of our President, Dr. Jerry Young, our General Secretary, Dr. Alvin Edwards, the Chair of our Federal Faith-Based Initiative, Dr. Alvin Love, and of course, from all of our Hope Health Ministry team members. We're pleased tonight to be able to share this follow-up to the webinar that we hosted during our midwinter board meeting on Monday. Look, we also are restreaming this webinar on our National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated Hope Health Ministry Facebook page and our YouTube pages. Look, feel free to share. We also want you to share the link so that more people can get on with Zoom so that we can interact. So this is what we're going to do tonight. In this interactive webinar, our Hope team will going to follow up on the questions that you all shared with us. Wow, were there a ton of questions. We appreciate the depth and breadth of the questions that you answered. We're also going to look at some of the possible long-term effects of COVID-19 on chronic and mental illnesses. So look, we want to make sure for those that are watching with us here on Zoom that you will type in the chat and share questions and comments. And look, I have the laptop right here beside me. Other team members are also watching social media as well. So if you have questions, we'll try our best to get them answered. All right. And again, we just want to thank our president, Dr. Jerry Young, of our convention, for having the vision for us to share these things so that we can be ready in this COVID-19 environment. All right. Look, everybody, that's enough of these comments and preliminaries. But again, one last time, tag somebody, text somebody, tweet somebody, share with somebody this wonderful information that we have on tonight. Now, let me introduce our panelists. So let me bring him up on screen, share the screen with me here. And he's not going to say anything yet, but I do want you to see him as I introduce him. This is Dr. Don Vereen Jr. He's an MD and an MPH. All right. And that means he knows quite a bit here now. He's a public health psychiatrist who directs community-based research activities and public health research. And look at the areas he's involved in: drug abuse, addiction, mental health, violence, and HIV/AIDS. All this is being done at the University of Michigan School of Public Health. All right, he's a good fella because he was born in the greatest state there is, Mississippi, Biloxi, Mississippi. And he was also in the best branch, Air Force. Well, he traveled. His father's in the Air Force, but hey, we'll let that slide. He got his AB degree from a great place I know some about, Harvard University. He got his MD from Tufts University School of Medicine, and he got his MPH from the Harvard School of Public Health. He got a double dip. All right. And after doing a little bit of other work here, he went to the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, and check this out. He was a medical officer and a special assistant to directors of several areas. And then from 1998 to 2002, he served as the deputy drug czar under Presidents Clinton and Bush, where he oversaw community-based prevention efforts. All right. He and his daughter and son followed his wife to the University of Michigan, where she has been the dean of the Gerald R. Ford School of Public Policy. Dr. Vereen joined the School of Public Health to foster community academic engagement and advise state and local officials on drug policy issues. Our panelist tonight, Dr. Don Vereen. All right, let me come back up one last time. So, folks, we got somebody on here that's prepared. As we said back down there in the country, he's a war horse pawing, ready for battle. And we're going to bring him on up here. I'm going to have him share I'm going to bring him right on the screen. Hold on, let me put him first. And all right, there you have both of us. Okay. All right, and for those that are on, we are also recording this across our different social media platforms and on Zoom as well. All right. Well, Monday, during our midwinter board meeting, which is hosted virtually, we had a lot of people asking questions during our COVID-19 in the church webinar. Although we share a lot of information and answer a lot of questions, we had more questions asked in the days following the presentation. So let's jump right in and ask these questions. So I hope you're ready, Dr. Farine. All right. Now look, here's the first question. Some attendees thought that most of the people in the clinical trials were white. They asked, how do we know this COVID-19 vaccine is safe for Black people? Dr. Farine?
Okay. You know, that's a wonderful question to begin with, because the answer is complex. There are a number of very, very important issues that are buried in that question. The first is, when vaccines are developed, they're often tested in animals first, and they're tested to make sure that they're not poisonous, that they're just going to kill people right off. And there are various stages that the testing goes through. And it turns out that as human beings, we all share, 99% plus DNA, regardless of our so-called racial distinction. So keep in mind that these racial distinctions are really more social and more political than they are biological. So think about it. When a doctor prescribes medicine for you for your diabetes, your insulin, for example, Black people don't get Black insulin, white people don't get white insulin, Asian people don't get Asian insulin. It's true for almost all medicines, with the exception of one, and I'll talk about that later on, because that came out in a strange way. All human beings are human beings. And so these medicines that are developed should work for everybody. Now, we all have different genetic makeups.
Okay.
They're slightly different. Our melanocytes make many of us darker. Okay, so I have a gene that makes my melanocytes a little darker than my wife, who's a little lighter. And that's a very tiny genetic difference. But if I could just take an extra minute to explain even more about that genetic difference. Okay. White people and Black people share the same number of melanocytes, the cells that make brown pigment.
Oh, gotcha.
The difference is whether or not the melanocytes are turned on.
Oh.
So we share the same genetic makeup for the cells.
Okay.
It's just the signal to turn them on or off, which is a minor signal and a minor difference. Gotcha. You have a very important name there, by the way. Minor.
No pun intended, right?
No pun intended. So when these medicines are developed,
all right,
unless you are unlucky to have a minor issue,
right,
that doesn't allow the medicine to take. But that's rare, and it doesn't run in groups for the most part. It doesn't run in groups. And so the way science gets around this issue,
okay,
is they make sure, they're supposed to make sure, NIH requires this.
Right.
They try to make sure that there's a diverse group of people being tested. So that means the test results are good for the entire diverse group that got tested.
Well, look,
if you only tested in white
gotcha.
men or only tested in women, technically the results are only good
for that
group.
Okay.
So for the person asking this question, will the vaccine help me if I'm not involved in the study? It probably will help you. So many medicines were developed without us, and we benefit from them.
This is true.
But if in case there is an issue, that's why we need to be in the vaccines trials, and that's why there was such a campaign to get people of color involved in the trials.
All right, I'm going to just put one little commercial in, and I'm thankful that one of our team members, Dr. Lavora Williams at the University of Kentucky Nursing School, was part of the NIH group that got some people of color involved. So I wanted to put that little plug in there. But look, you still, you bring something else up. So now this previous question reminds me of the mistrust between
Yes.
Blacks and medical research in America. What specific do you think of some of the wariness that we have as people of color
Sure.
when it comes to these things,
Sure. And there was one other point I was going to make about the previous question. The Pfizer trials had 9.8%, almost 10% African Americans involved in the trial.
Okay.
So that's, that's pretty close to the average in the United States.
Okay.
82% were white, 26% were Latino, and 4% were Asian. So
Okay.
the most of those are about right. The Latino one is probably a little low, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
But they're Caucasian, remember? They're Caucasian. Now, the mistrust. Well, the mistrust, I'm going to say Tuskegee. There have been past medical research programs or projects that took advantage of Black people. Yes. But there's a history of this country taking advantage of people of color. So fortunately, we knew about Tuskegee.
Right.
And we don't ever want to see that happening again. And
right.
Since we're not in control of all these trials and experiments and things like that, it's natural. And I would tell you as a psychiatrist, it's healthy to be a little paranoid.
Oh, okay.
Because you do want to know what's going on.
Okay.
You want there to be a transparency. And so there is naturally this distrust when the government says, well, Black lives don't matter, and we're going to follow people with syphilis, even though we've got a cure for it. Because that was one of the terrible moral failings of that study, was it continued after a cure was developed and it was withheld from these men.
Wow. Yeah.
And then they suffered from the side effects of having it's called a spherocyte, that particular bacteria. And it just, it still brings tears to so many of our eyes that these people suffered. And as a result, it's important to point out that as terrible as those studies were, which is, the Nazis did the same things to the Jews and the Jehovah's Witnesses who were in the camps in Germany. The American government was involved in this. It isn't just the medical people. The Tuskegee was a government-funded study. It was the United States Public Health Service, which I was a member of at one point. So it's the government, and it was the medical profession. People with lower IQs, they did all kinds of studies on those people without their consent. So the thing I want to leave everyone with is that it's healthy to be a little paranoid. And I'm going to come back in a few minutes and talk about how some of the trials that we've been witnessing from Pfizer and Moderna and AstraZeneca, there has been unprecedented transparency. Not complete transparency, mind you.
Unprecedented. Wow.
But unprecedented transparency.
Excellent.
So when there was a when there was a glitch, a bad response with one of the folks who'd gotten
Oh, yeah,
the
that was on the
vaccine,
news. Yeah.
we knew about it. And
Yes. Yes.
then one
Yeah.
of the studies, they shut it down.
Sure did.
And everybody, when we were talking about this in Flint, people were saying, "Oh Lord, have mercy! This is terrible." And I said, "No,
Oh.
no, this is what's supposed to happen."
Yeah.
And chances are, in fact, most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
those bad outcomes or those bad effects have nothing to do with the vaccine. It's something that just happened naturally in that person's life. But
Gotcha.
as a result of Tuskegee, we now have all of these protections.
Okay.
The transparency is one of them. Whenever you go and you sign all those papers at the hospital, informed
Yeah.
consent
Exactly. Yeah.
is required because of that study. And
Okay.
informed consent means you need to be told what good things are expected from the study,
Okay.
what bad things may happen to you,
Okay.
and they have to demonstrate that the good will outweigh the bad. Otherwise, they can't do the study.
Okay. Well, you had me thinking here then. So do you think that this, you really encouraged me actually. Do you think this COVID-19 vaccine rollout is an opportunity for us to feel better about these studies, kind of overcome some of this awareness?
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to be an economist like my wife, on the one hand or on the other hand. Yes, because we're aware.
Okay.
And we have some control by deciding whether or not we're going to participate in the studies or not, because we're a part of the actual process to figure out if this is a good thing.
Yeah.
Here's the kicker, though. It's still scary, and that is we've never done studies like this before this quickly.
Okay.
So if there's a lot that we don't know. The thing about that is we're all in the same boat. Black people, white people, everybody taking this virus, this vaccine.
Gotcha.
It looks like at least in the short term, it's going to protect us. And there's a race because there's a variant that is even more
Hold your horse. We'll come back to that variant. Hold your horse on that one.
And so there's a race to get our immune systems up to speed so we can be immune to it, at least for a period of time. But we don't know how long. We do know that for at least a short period of time, 95+% of people who get that second shot will be protected. Okay. Only 5%, may fall through the crack. That is amazing when it comes to vaccines.
All right, I want everybody to listen tonight. I hadn't thought of it this way, but keep in mind, everybody's concerned about, is it safe for Black people? We all, whether you're Black, white, green, yellow, blue, we all taking the same vaccine, rich,
and the same risk.
Same risk. So everybody, so keep that in mind. What y'all keep that in mind. All right, let's go to something else about this vaccine, Dr. When you're doing good so far, okay? All right, I don't care what your daughter said. Okay, so for the actual vaccination, all right, will those vaccinated receive a dead version of the COVID-19 virus?
No, this vaccine does not work like that. Okay. The polio virus, the polio vaccine worked that way. Those of us who are old enough to have gotten that vaccine, you have a little scar on your arm, or some of us also got the sugar cube. We were able to take it by mouth. There are a number of different ways to trigger the immune system so that when it sees a virus or a bacteria that doesn't belong there, or that's deadly to us, there are a number of ways to gin up our immune system. You can give a dead version.
Okay.
You can chop up the virus or the bacteria into pieces and then inject that. What they've done, what Pfizer and Moderna have done, is they knew something about this virus because, you know, they've been waiting for
Okay.
this virus form of it to break out.
Okay.
They've
Oh,
been studying this virus, by the
that's
way.
right. Okay.
So it's the family of viruses is not new, but this one virus is new. Not seen it before. And what they did, one of the things about it is it looks like a crown. That's why it's called the coronavirus. And it's got these spikes coming out of it. And it's those spikes that hit a cell, and that's how it gets in and invades your cells.
Well, hold tight now. See, you the one talking about it. I'm glad you sent this stuff to me. So now it looks like what we see on the screen right here.
Yes, you see those spikes.
See these spikes,
The-
everybody.
The spikes are on the outside of the virus, and then there's a coating. And a virus is really
Mhm.
just the material, those squiggly lines that you see
The squiggly
inside.
lines on the inside. Okay, there we go.
Okay, and in regular cells,
Mhm.
that would be the equivalent of the DNA.
Okay.
You know, that's in the nucleus of the cell. It's maybe in another time I'll give everybody a lesson on how cells work in the body. But
Okay.
for a virus
Okay.
can either be a DNA
Okay.
virus or it can be an RNA virus.
Okay.
When the DNA replicates, it makes a mirror image of itself
All
called
right.
RNA. And that's what you're seeing inside this virus. It's
These
an
squiggly lines inside. It's the RNA.
Yeah, that's an
Oh,
RNA virus.
okay.
There are other viruses
Mhm.
that use DNA, just like we do.
Okay.
And that's what's inside. And that's all they are. They're pieces of DNA, pieces of RNA. They have to get
Okay.
this.
I got a question. Why you saying they want
Yep.
somebody was no
Okay.
difference
Yep.
between
Good.
DNA and RNA?
Say that again.
I'm asking the question, what's the difference between DNA and RNA?
Okay. DNA has, we all have chromosomes
Mhm.
that are made up of DNA. At some point, I'll provide a picture. We can talk about this in more detail, but that provides the codes for proteins that make up your body and do all the things that your body needs to do. So there's a code for insulin. There's a code for for muscle protein. There's a code for the fluid that's inside your eye. All the things that make you you
Okay.
is embedded in embedded in the DNA.
DNA. Okay.
The DNA, you know, replicates and then a new cell is made. But in order to make those proteins,
Mhm.
a mirror image of the DNA is made, and that's called RNA.
Okay.
That's ribosomal nucleic acid.
Oh, bringing back biology days. Oh no.
Yes.
Okay.
And the RNA
All right.
is actually the signal. It gets the code from the DNA,
Okay.
but the RNA is the signal
Okay.
that makes the protein.
Gotcha.
And so the red part, the red squiggle,
Mhm.
is
The
the
red right here. Okay.
instruction to make the spikes
Okay.
for the coronavirus. And it needs to use the DNA of another animal, of another cell in order to live.
Oh, because it only has RNA, so it has to have a
Yeah,
DNA.
because it's only RNA.
Oh, gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
it's a very basic
Gotcha.
piece of life.
Okay.
It's more basic than a single cell
Okay.
because it can't live on its own. It's a parasite.
Okay.
And so that code has to be replicated so that those spikes can be made, because it's the spikes. I'm going to say they pierce, but they do more than that. They pierce the cell so that the RNA can get inside the cell finds the DNA so that it can remake all these parts, but 100, 200, 1,000-fold.
Wow.
But
Well, look,
enough of these.
but look, you onto something here. So the variants that are out. So are
Yes.
the variants, are the variants have different spikes or something? So how can you use this to help us understand why these variants are, and are these variants more deadly and crazier than this
Yes.
other stuff? Help us. We got this picture up here. So
Sure.
how that work for us?
Let me preface this discussion about the variants with this statement.
Okay.
We knew they were coming.
Okay.
Yes, because
We knew they were coming, but nobody said anything about it, though.
Well, they did, but they were
listen.
focused on other things. And by
Okay.
the way, sometimes things scare people.
True.
So they weren't telling any lies, but in this case,
Okay,
ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
what you have is every time this mRNA gets copied,
Gotcha.
it finds the DNA to make the spike, to make the capsid, the capsule that holds the RNA.
Right.
There's a code there to replicate the RNA itself. Every time that replicates, a mistake could be made.
A mistake.
A mistake in the coding. All it takes is one little, because what you're seeing there are thousands of pieces
Okay, so
that are codes, thousands of combinations of codes.
Okay.
And all it takes is one little mishap.
Wow.
But let me tell you this, most of the mishaps don't mean anything.
Okay.
But all it takes is one or the right one to change. Now, your health ministry has dealt a lot with AIDS. The HIV virus is an mRNA virus, but it mutates like crazy.
Oh, okay.
It's like every 5 times, I'm making this up to make the point, every 5 times it replicates, there's a change.
Okay.
That explains why we don't have a vaccine for it.
Okay.
It's changing so quickly that there's no way we can come up with a vaccine for one part that kills all of them.
So we're thankful then that this particular virus does not mutate as quickly then.
Amen. You have spoken the truth. You have spoken the truth.
Wow.
Now the variant, so far, the South African variant, the one that was discovered in Britain, they all seem to have a variant that relates to the spikes.
So these little things, these little red things on the outside here.
Yes, and the thing is that has to do with the entry into the cell. So when they knew about the cell and they were trying to figure out, okay, what piece of this are we going to attack?
Okay.
Are we going to develop our vaccine for? They picked the spikes. And fortunately, the change that's happening in the variant is also in the spikes.
The inside is basically the same as the out. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and that's why they're saying that, well, we don't know, but the vaccination should still work.
Gotcha.
It may not work quite as well, but there's no reason, based on what they've been able to see, because they studied the mRNA of all these, all these viruses, all these variants.
Right.
And so that's why they're saying, but we, we don't know for sure. And by the way, remember, we're all in the same boat.
That's right. I'm keeping that in mind. I'm really keeping that in mind. We all taking the same thing.
We're all in the same boat.
Gotcha.
And so somebody is already developing a booster. They're looking for another part of the spike to develop an attack on.
Okay, but then you raise up two questions then. So question number one, this is why the Surgeon General, because I understand this is different, want us to wear 2 masks if we're not wearing N95, right?
Yep.
All right, and then okay. So
yeah, so if it's more infectious, meaning it's not necessarily more deadly,
okay.
But if it's easier for you to get it, that means your chances of getting it goes up.
Okay.
Your chances of getting really sick, and then if you get really sick, that makes you a candidate for possibly dying. So
okay.
that's the way we think about this. Sometimes you get a variant and it gets in and it just takes over too fast.
Gotcha.
And it may not be the spike, it may be something else that gets changed.
All right, so that means
so far so good. We're keeping our fingers crossed.
So that means then that we should keep on wearing, even if we had the shot, both shots.
Yes.
Don't throw your mask away. Is that what you're saying there?
Exactly. And the reason for that is not everyone has been vaccinated.
Right.
And let's say you do get vaccinated.
Gotcha.
It's going to take a little bit of time, a day or two, for your immune system to ramp up if you're exposed. Now, there's a period theoretically in there where you may be shedding virus while your immune system is ratcheting up to attack it, to squelch it. It's like having a little kitchen fire.
Oh,
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
And then you have a system in your house to put it out.
Okay.
But sometimes those kitchen fires take off.
Okay.
And in this case, the variant is not. It's the kind of kitchen fire that's pretty easy to put out.
All right, well, but now look. Okay, now you got me going now. Okay,
that's okay.
So for looking at that, then that means that really, if I got the shot and I had it a month or 2 months down the road, I can't just get happy and throw my mask off and say
no, because there are too many people out there who will not be vaccinated yet.
Okay.
And even though your immune system is now cocked and ready to go, there's still a little window in there where you could have virus inside your nose, inside your mouth, and when you breathe or sneeze or cough, you could still theoretically hurt someone, infect someone.
So I mean, a lot of grandparents now so excited because they'll be the first one getting the shot. So now the grandparents will have the shot, and then they'll take the mask off, and their grandchildren and children will come in without a mask. Say, "Well, Grandma, you all good now." So now it'd be the reverse. Grandma can give.
Yes, but remember, the kids tend not to have bad cases.
Okay.
It's very rare, and they do get a very, very terrible set of effects.
Okay.
They tend not to die from those terrible, awful effects that they get that affect their heart and their blood vessels.
Okay.
But it's so the important thing is that just because you have developed the immunity,
gotcha.
Not everybody else has the immunity, and there is a little bit of a window.
All right, so wear your mask, wear your mask, wear your mask. Okay.
And one other point about the extra layers with the mask.
All right.
The mask, and I'm not saying this to scare anybody listening.
All right.
But the mask is not perfect. But the mask makes a huge difference, especially if you combine the mask with distancing. The thing about this Zoom is, I'm projecting, I've done a little bit of acting, I may be a little bit too loud. My wife can probably hear me, she's still working too. But
Okay.
when you project,
Mhm.
I could be projecting aerosols out
Even if
10
even
feet.
if I wear my mask like this, it's possible.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Some of that is going to get through the material,
Gotcha. That
but
makes
not
sense.
very far. So if you're wearing your mask,
Right.
the aerosol's only going to come out that far.
Right. Because if it didn't, I would be dead because I couldn't breathe if the mask was that
Yes,
tight. That makes sense.
exactly. So that's
All
a
right.
thing. And then they're saying that with
Gotcha.
this more infectious
Okay.
variant,
Okay.
a lot of people are wearing scarves,
Gotcha.
and we need to double those up.
Double up. Double up. But the N95 is good all by itself if you're fortunate to get one, right?
Yeah, for the most part. And then the surgical ones, pretty well. They don't necessarily uh, grab your face completely well, but nothing at least gets through the mask.
Wow. Okay. All right. Look, let me get to some other questions. We're going good now. You're getting me stirred up tonight. I like that. All right. Now, will the vaccine adversely affect a breastfeeding mother?
At this point, we don't know, but there's no indication so far
Okay.
that it would affect the mother or the baby.
Gotcha.
mRNA, as far as we know, is not an issue for the baby. The
Okay.
baby will deal with it. Babies tend to have a pretty good immune system because if you notice, newborns don't get colds.
Oh,
When a little later,
gee, that's right. Yeah.
their snot is all over the place and making mom, dad, and anybody who handles them sick.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. Well, we had one person that went on our H.O.P.E Facebook page and asked this question. My immune system is already suppressed because of lupus. So
Yep.
is the vaccine for me?
The quick answer is yes.
Okay.
So you're not getting the virus.
Okay.
What you're getting in the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine is you're getting a package
Okay.
that has the mRNA instructions to make a piece of the spike protein on the virus.
Okay.
And that is released into the bloodstream.
Okay.
And when it's there, our immune system says that shouldn't be there. And it attacks it. And then the cells attack it, and they have a little council, and they say, if this bad boy comes back here again,
All right, we got it.
we gonna remember what he looks like,
Okay.
and all that. And then
All right.
they store up this knowledge, and
Okay.
you build an immune system response.
Okay.
That may take a day or two to completely rev up if you're ever exposed again. But that's how that happens. This is not like polio where they killed the virus and then injected it into you, and your body would see the dead one, attack it, have your little council, remember it,
I like the little
and then
council.
go after it
All right.
again. But we're not doing that. So there's no danger
Okay.
of getting this.
Well, look, what about other chronic illnesses? She mentioned thing about lupus, but what about other things? We got people with diabetes, high blood pressure, sugar. What about all those things?
Well, part of the question about the lupus was, in lupus, your immune system is taxed.
Okay.
So it's not working optimally.
Gotcha.
But in this case, you can still give a vaccination.
Mm-hmm.
It may take a person with lupus, it may take their immune system a little bit more time, and it may have to spend a little bit more energy. But it doesn't put them at any risk, except that you have to spend this extra energy because you're already dealing with the lupus, and then the side effects and the medicines tire you out and tax your system. So for other chronic illnesses, it's the same thing, except
Gotcha.
that you won't be as taxed as you would be for lupus. Lupus, unfortunately, really saps so much of your energy, but your immune system still has the capability to build up an immunity.
And then, of course, in all these cases, as people doing these things, they will coordinate, consult with their healthcare professional.
That's right, because they may need some extra help
Okay.
to get the immune system to protect them,
Okay.
to build up so that they can be protected.
And let me just make a little caveat here. The reason I said healthcare professional, when I first started in this business, I always would say doctor, but we know now people may say nurse,
Oh yeah,
and anything else. So healthcare professional.
I will tell you as a doctor, there are so many other people that know so much more and explain it a whole lot better.
No problem, no problem. All right. So now here's another question. It says, some people have taken both shots have asked this question. Why is the second dose more intense than the first? Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is, but we have several questions on this line. So
Yeah.
why is the second dose more intense than the first?
Yeah, I was told the same thing. And it's probably because the first time you get it, it's just new. And the response, it may be adequate to protect you for however long it's going to protect you.
Okay.
But that second dose is like an insurance. It's like oh, I had an example in my head of this. It's like you try something once, but you got to make sure that it caught.
Okay.
You got to make sure that the immune system is up and running when it gets tested.
Okay.
When it gets presented with the virus. And so when that happens, you get a much bigger response because you didn't have it before. It was new.
Gotcha.
It was new to you. But that second response, people get a bee sting, and the first time it's like, oh, I got stung. The second time it's like, what happened to my arm? What was that? You have a bigger reaction the second time.
Gotcha.
That's how you know. Now, when you get the real thing, you're not going to feel as much because your body is just going to overwhelm it.
It's like the poison ivy. The poison ivy. It's a whole bunch of times early on, it didn't do anything to me. Then all of a sudden, wow. Okay.
Your skin changed as you got older, by the way.
Well, it all happened within about a year's time, though.
Yes.
All right. Look, as we used to say back in the country, you learning me tonight. Okay.
Same here. I'm learning too.
All right. So now I don't know why they asked us this question, but I'm gonna put it out here because I don't know, but you do the best you can with it. People are frustrated at getting a schedule for an appointment for a vaccine. Yes. What do you suggest for them to do?
It's a very, very good question because all this positive expectation has been pushed on people. Oh, we got the virus now, and now you can't.
The vaccine. We got the vaccine.
Vaccine. Right. And now you can't get it. Well, first of all, it's important to face facts.
Okay.
Our government failed us because they told us that it was out there, but they didn't do anything to make sure that once it was made, it got into the refrigerators, it got into the trucks, that they knew where to take it in the states.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's where our government absolutely failed. And then there's a second thing, and I hate to be so negative, but it's important to know the truth.
Well, tell us.
They didn't buy enough, they didn't order enough, and they didn't buy enough vaccine.
Wait a minute, the federal government got plenty of money. We can buy whatever we want.
Yes, that's right. But none of that was done, 3-4 months ago.
So wait a minute now. You're telling me we had an opportunity to buy enough. So when it got ready, we had enough for everybody, including my worst enemy.
Yep. So what Biden is talking about doing now could have been done before. And in fact, I
Wow.
think it was Pfizer said, don't y'all want some more? And the response was, I don't think we need it now.
Oh, my goodness.
And then, and the thing is, you know, it hadn't quite come out, but they have to make it, they got to package it, and then
That's
they got to get it out to people. So interestingly, what we're all subject to is how organized our states are.
okay. All
Because
right.
the United States is 50 different countries.
Okay. Plus the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico and the other. Okay.
Yes, that's right. So 52 plus countries.
All right. Okay.
And you know, some, their public health systems, their, first of all, funding for public health systems has been choked, just like funding for our education systems.
I hadn't thought about that. That's true.
Yeah, no, it's been choked for decades now.
Okay.
We've been cheap, trying to do things on the cheap, and now you see it.
Okay.
There aren't enough people in any of the public health departments to do the contact tracing that needs to happen. There just aren't physically enough people.
Okay.
So,
all right.
so there's that. But in the meantime, you already know what you need to do. So it just means that you're in the marathon, and when you came around the corner and you thought, oh, it's mile 26, no, it's mile 20. You still got 6 miles to go, but you got a good pace going on. So it's the mask,
Okay.
it's the distancing,
Okay.
and it's the washing of the hands.
Okay.
You've been doing it well so far. Once you get the vaccine, you're going to have to keep doing that.
Okay.
So make sure you make yourself a nice dinner every night. You know, you make something a little different.
I got you. Okay.
If you got something, you know, if you're fortunate enough to have someone in the household with you, you know, change things up a little bit. It's really important, if you can, even though it's winter, get outside. Fresh air.
Okay.
You're walking, you're exercising, you're actually doing things that strengthen your immune system.
Okay. Okay.
So
All right. We got a little bit of,
go to church.
yes, we're doing it virtual too now. Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. So now we got some questions about this new vaccine that's talking about now. We know that Moderna and Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine require 2 doses.
Yes.
What about the efficacy of the Johnson & Johnson one-shot COVID-19 vaccine?
Okay. First of all, one of the main differences and why 2 shots may not, it looks like doesn't have to be done, is because the important information for our immune systems to get revved up, the delivery system is different.
Okay.
So with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine,
okay,
what they've done is they've taken a real virus, one that causes a common cold. So it's a virus that we know.
The common cold and the COVID are the same family, kind of.
Well, this is not a coronavirus. This is an adenovirus.
Okay.
I should have put a picture of the adenovirus. It doesn't have a crown.
Oh, okay.
But it does get into cells, and they've taken out the piece of DNA
okay,
that tells it to replicate.
Okay.
So it gets into your cell, it doesn't replicate, but what it brings with it is information about the COVID spike. And so when it dies inside another cell, that information about the spike gets into our DNA, and that piece of a spike is made,
Hold
and when
on,
that
hold
shows
on,
up in
hold
the
on.
bloodstream.
This the adeno right here, right? This the
Okay,
adeno.
good.
We working. I got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
This the adeno.
yeah. But you see the globs, those globs are more important, not the spikes so
The
much.
spikes don't matter. So these things right inside.
They don't matter as much. It's the globs.
These things right in here. Okay. Okay.
And um, and so again, the instructions for that to make that piece of the spike
Okay.
gets made, and then it gets released into the bloodstream so that the immune system can detect it, have their little council, and have a plan every time that piece of spike shows up,
Okay.
especially in an intact coronavirus. It's dead, it's gone.
Okay.
So the delivery system is different.
But but it's still not. It's still is it? So it's not a dead virus either in the Johnson Johnson.
This is it's an alive virus, but it's a virus that doesn't hurt you.
So it's like a blank bullet.
Yes, you could put it that way, because once this virus gets in, it can't replicate. They've neutered it.
Okay.
They've neutered it, and
Okay.
the only reason that they're using it
Okay.
is to take that RNA piece of information so
Gotcha.
that our cells will make it. And
Okay.
then once it's made and it's out in our bloodstream, it's like throwing chum and blood into the ocean to draw sharks.
Ah,
It's
gotcha.
the same concept. So all we're doing is finding a piece of the virus that could kill us
Okay.
and using that piece to make our immune system ready to go,
All right. So the real
protect
question.
us from it in the future.
Now I've heard, and you hear a lot of things. That's why we're
Yes.
glad to have you on as an expert in the field. That unlike the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, this is only the Johnson Johnson only about 60% as effective as others.
Yes. And that's where most of the vaccines that we've gotten, that we've used in the past, that's where they are. The Moderna and the Pfizer, it was unheard of to have 95% effectiveness, but you got to get 2 shots for it.
Okay, so now if we're given an opportunity, I'm just hypothetical.
Yes.
So you got a choice and look, okay, you can come over here and get your Johnson Johnson shot tomorrow and twice on Sunday, or you can wait another 3 months and get the 2-shot Moderna or Pfizer. So you get the one right now is 65%. Now, you know what I always said, talking about marriage and stuff,
Yes.
don't get Mr. Right, not Mr. Right now. I'm in the same kind of mentality. So now, so if we in that situation, because Johnson Johnson's vaccine will be out pretty soon.
Yes, sir.
What's the scoop?
It's a tough call. It's a tough call. I think if I were on the front lines, taking care of COVID patients every day,
all right,
I would probably take the first one that came along. And if the first one was the Johnson & Johnson, I'd take it.
But could I come back and take the other one after that?
Probably yes, because remember, you're probably old enough to remember that there were 2 versions of the polio vaccine.
Yeah, sure was. The Salk and Saban, right?
That's right. One was a shot.
Hey, look at that, Mom. I still remember it. Hey.
And one was in a sugar cube. The other one you could actually eat.
Yeah.
And I got both.
Okay. All right.
So the thing is, we've just not tested things well enough yet to know if one or the other. It probably will be okay to get both. But you ask me the question, and that's what I would say. Otherwise, I might wait for the 2-shot one, because there's more of a chance, 30 extra percentage points,
that's right,
that I'll be good to go.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's something to talk about.
Okay. All right. Y'all heard it here first. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Now look.
herd immunity, once you reach herd immunity, it's not going to matter which one.
True. True. All right. So look, that brings us to this next question here. You touched on it, but I want to make sure we got this right. So now we have to take the flu shot every year.
Yes.
This is kind of like a virus. So then, what is the expectation? We got to take this COVID-19
Yeah.
every year. Is that what the deal is going to be? Talk to us.
This is an excellent question.
Okay.
The flu virus, remember what I was saying about the HIV virus?
Okay.
The flu virus,
Mm-hmm.
it changes every year. And there are so many different types of flus.
Okay.
So what they do is they get a mix of the most recent ones,
Okay.
and then they figure out a vaccine that protects you against most of them.
Okay.
And then they give you the vaccine, but they have to do it every year because the flu virus changes so much. Remember I was talking about mutations. It changes too often.
Okay.
And there's a whole family of them that can infect us and cause illness in us.
Okay.
So with COVID, it doesn't change quite as much.
Okay.
And it should last for a while, but we only tested this to see how people did for a couple of months.
True.
That's why we have an emergency authorization, because it's not approved yet. Because that's one of the questions that you could have a partial answer to if you did the full set of tests.
So I'm not trying to alarm anybody. So really, a year from now, we could be all right, it's all good, or we could be like going to another flu season, but maybe not as bad because we still have some kind of partial immunity to it.
Yes, but keep in mind, we're shooting for herd immunity for this one.
Okay.
We don't quite get there with the flu because it keeps changing every year.
Gotcha.
So with this one, if in the next year, more than 60, 70, 80% of folks can get vaccinated, we could actually relax a little bit because it won't be you won't see it as often as the flu virus.
Okay. And look, just to warn everybody, we were going to end at 7, but we have more questions coming in. As long as Dr. Vereen,
yep, I'm good.
Go with us. And thank you all for the questions that's still coming in and whatnot. We appreciate everything that everybody's asking us. I think we got a new star here. We're gonna replace Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, well, the challenge is not to be too technical and to actually try to have a conversation. You ask the folks in your congregation and folks are asking very, very good questions, and so they deserve a response.
All right. Well, the next question on the list is talking about, are there additional recommended vitamins? A lot of people about taking vitamin C and stuff like that can help you build up your immune system.
Yes. Let me just say blanketly, it's important to eat a really good diet. If you're already eating well,
okay,
then you're fine. What they did find early on in this pandemic was that people who had a bad course or died had low levels of vitamin D.
Vitamin D.
Yeah.
Interesting. I never heard that. Okay.
Yeah. And so in the wintertime, I'm up here in Michigan, sun doesn't come out all that much.
Yeah.
Even though I'm dark and, I can convert vitamin D pretty well. Every now and then my level, even though I take a multivitamin in the winter and most times,
gotcha.
It's not enough unless I'm outside
gotcha.
in the sun.
Okay.
So that's partly why I was saying earlier, people were asking, oh, what can we do? It's
Yeah.
like, go outside, be in the sun, open up your curtains, lift up the shades,
Let the sun shine
let
in.
the sun shine in.
Okay.
So that's one thing that they noticed. Vitamin C, most of us get enough of that,
Right.
every
Everything you
day.
drink has vitamin C in it these days.
Yes, yes. So we get enough of that.
Okay.
Um, and vitamin C is used by white blood cells to kill other things.
Okay.
It uses the ascorbic acid to kill other things like viruses.
What about zinc? Is zinc helpful as well?
Yeah, zinc is used for they're used in proteins to
Okay.
help with chemical reactions.
Okay.
So when you're breaking down sugars, when you're breaking down fats, when you're making things like insulin,
Okay.
zinc is a part of the proteins that are used to make other things. They're part of catalysts and other things like that. That's why I'm saying eat a balanced diet. One of these is not going to be a magic bullet.
Okay. All right.
They're all important.
Right. And look, somebody's come just asking, will the vaccine, this is from Facebook,
Yeah.
adversely affect a person taking chemotherapy drugs?
Well, with chemotherapy, often your immune system is depressed.
Okay.
Just like we had a person who shared with us uh,
Oh,
that she had lupus,
lupus. Gotcha. Gotcha.
and it's depressed. The
Okay.
thing is, these vaccines
Mhm.
are trying to gin up your immune system
Okay.
to fight the virus. If it takes a little longer, it takes a little longer.
Gotcha.
Uh, so it shouldn't be a problem. But again, there were no tests put in place to answer that specific question.
Okay.
So it's a best guess. And our guess is that if you're taking cancer treatments, you're at risk to get this virus.
True. So,
And you're probably better off, taking the vaccine so that you've got more protection.
okay. All right. Okay. Look, we got one more question. Then get ready. We're going to your mental health discussion in just a second. But the other question is that people ask us, even though young people are not don't really die a whole lot from COVID-19, but what about the long-term effects? I think this question comes back from that basketball player down at the University of Florida. I guess he got fell out and that and wondering about his heart. So
Yeah.
even though maybe now it's no big deal, but they get my age, and your age, and other folks' age and whatnot, will they have something crazy bad to look forward to?
Yeah, these patterns are important. First of all, young people seem to have a lot of asymptomatic presentations when they're infected with the virus.
Okay.
But many of these younger people, their 20s, and then a few of the older ones in their 30s and 40s,
Okay.
what you're seeing in them are blood clots,
Ah.
strokes,
Huh. Okay.
heart problems.
Okay.
Again, we're seeing it more in that younger age group than we are in the older folks
Okay.
or in the really young folks.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And so this this effect in the blood clotting system, people are working on that to try to understand what is the virus doing to make your blood clot more. Because when you're 30 years old and you're having a stroke, that's not supposed to happen till you're older.
Okay.
And
All right.
so the biology of the virus is being learned about from these patterns that we're seeing.
Okay.
So the athletes, there seems to be the big symptom for them is some effect on their heart,
Okay.
sort of a carditis, an inflammation of the heart muscle.
Okay.
And that's devastating to an
Yes.
athlete.
Yeah.
I mean, they need their hearts. I mean,
It's over with. It's over
that's
with.
what makes them go.
Right.
And
Right.
so
Man.
many of the
Amazing.
programs,
Huh.
that's what they're looking for specifically.
Okay.
The young men are getting tested and then they're getting ultrasounds,
Okay.
young men and women. They're
Okay.
getting tested for the virus
Okay.
and they're getting these ultrasounds to make sure that the heart hasn't been affected. Because if it has, then they can jump on that. They can give them medications to reverse the inflammatory thing that's going on.
Wow. I can't get to this next question yet because you bring up something else. If that's the case, aren't those tests expensive? Are these colleges able to?
Amen.
I mean, it's not like you're gonna pay $5
I
to
mean,
get done.
my wife, she's graduated from being a dean to the provost, and the cost of these tests, because I think the students on campus are tested 3 times a week,
Wow. Whew.
you know, and then if they're tested, then they have to be isolated, then they have to go somewhere else. The cost of this, and supposedly the federal government is picking up the tab for this. So it's our tax-paying dollar that is paying for this.
Okay. All right. Another question has popped up before we get to our mental health piece. It says, should a kidney transplant patient take the vaccine?
With the kidney, your immune system should be, no, if you're a kidney transplant, your immune system is depressed because you're probably taking steroids or other medications
Okay.
to ensure that you don't reject the kidney.
Okay.
And so it's the same as the folks with lupus.
Gotcha. Okay.
Your immune system is depressed, but that doesn't mean it's not working and can't work, and you want it to work to protect you from COVID.
And as
It may
again,
take a little longer to work.
consult with your primary care professional. All right. Now let's get a little bit to this other area here. Let's talk about a little bit about mental health quickly.
Yeah.
People are tired of being on lockdown. They say, I'm gonna say like this: they tired of being on lockdown. Okay.
That's me.
All right. What are some coping skills for individuals or families to use to strengthen mental health during this pandemic?
Yeah, the way I would think about this is look at what the virus has taken away from you.
Okay.
It's taken away fellowship.
Okay.
Probably most importantly. We're staying inside, although we could go outside, but we're staying inside more.
Okay.
We're not moving as much.
Yeah.
I didn't.
That's that COVID weight, right?
Yes. I'm in this office, 8-10 hours a day.
Okay. Okay.
Now I stand now.
I see.
Yeah, I stand. I bought a desk to stand, but
I got one on the way. I ain't told my wife yet, but I got one on the way.
yeah. And so the fellowship and the things that are missing, are there things that you can do to reverse those?
Gotcha.
So, so many families, they don't always have dinner together. Somebody makes the food. In my family, it was me.
Okay.
But we always sat down for dinner, but not, people have different schedules. The kids have sports,
Right.
but they don't now. Create some new traditions, but not just because it's COVID. I mean, it's fun sitting down to dinner. And like I was saying before, trying new recipes. My wife's birthday was 2 days ago, and cooking something that you would have at a restaurant. And by the way, I do that anyway, because I never buy a steak at a restaurant, because I can go out and buy a nice steak and make it myself.
Gotcha.
So I made a lobster bisque.
Wow.
And it took less than an hour to make. You know, it was not one of these things where you're cooking all day. But go outside, because you're not going outside. I mentioned the vitamin D.
Okay.
Walking is an incredible exercise.
Okay.
So with your family, you know, when was the last time you held hands? Go outside, hold hands. I never noticed that tree.
Okay.
I didn't know that there were birds flying around in the wintertime. We should buy some bird seed.
Okay.
So it's the fellowship, it's eating well, but doing it in a deliberate way.
Okay.
Um, I try to spend more time calling folks.
Okay.
So you stay in touch. I'm probably a
Not
little bit,
texting people, but calling folks.
yes, calling them. I
Okay.
used to do that a lot. It helped my blood pressure to come down if I called a friend or something in the middle of the day. And then I got away from it. And now I do it. And it doesn't have to be Zoom,
Okay.
but talk to a new person every day.
Okay.
You know, there are some aunts that I should probably be calling every week. And I kid them. I said, you know, Auntie, you get old. They say, boy, don't you, you old too. No, so it's anything to reverse the loss of fellowship, the
Reverse. I like
loss
that.
of activities.
All right, Pastor. Reverse the loss of fellowship. I'm writing that down actually.
Yep, and they're all there. We take walks with our friends,
Okay.
because outside you're less likely to be exposed to the virus.
Okay.
You can uh, take walks through the neighborhood. We'll say, hey, I'm gonna stop by when the temperature reaches 40 degrees,
Yeah.
which means 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and you
Oh,
come out and you have a little meeting in the front yard.
a meeting in the front yard.
Yeah, I have done that. I take some of my phone calls,
Okay.
I will take them and I will walk around the block.
Gotcha.
I'll be on the call, but I will be outside breathing fresh air, walking, exercising, and getting my work done.
Okay. It's kind of like when I go into that church office, I print to the back printer. I have to walk. It's a 26,000 square foot building, so you know how far that is to walk. Okay.
Yes, but we all, in the wintertime, there are not pretty flowers and things.
Right.
But if you're with someone,
Okay.
that gets enough of the prolactin and other things going on to make you feel at least like you almost got a hug.
Gotcha. All right. And I got in trouble. I guess my wife misunderstood me. I didn't say I was getting her a new desk. I said I was getting a new desk. She did this one. Anyway, I now I'm in more trouble. But anyway.
Well, you can share it.
Yeah, we'll share it. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So one question. So we got a question from Zoom here. When you go outside to walk, should you keep your mask on?
If I'm gonna run, if I'm gonna pass people, if I look down the street, I will put my mask on if I'm gonna pass somebody.
Okay.
If it's just me, if I'm walking in the middle of the street, for example, I won't put my mask on because I'm not exposed. I'm getting in the fresh air. It's much less likely when you pass somebody, you know, unless they cough at the exact point when they're standing next to you.
Gotcha. I thought about
Even
that.
then, there's so much fresh air that everything gets dispersed.
Okay.
That's why they have to close the restaurants, because the air is not moving and you're so close to so many other people.
Yeah, I never understood that. You walk in with a mask and take your mask off.
Yeah, and well, you have to eat, so that's the problem. But in the church, for example, you know, unless there's good ventilation, even if you have a mask on,
Oh, that's
so
true.
many, unless you're socially distanced,
Gotcha.
if you're going to socially distance, then you need good airflow too.
Gotcha.
You need both of those.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Otherwise, the virtual is the best.
Okay. All right. And I guess also if you go if you do even if you do go in and do that, you have these choke points when people walk out the church. If you don't have
That's right.
y'all, you were spaced
Yeah.
out, y'all get close together.
Yep. That takes some planning. So
Okay.
it's like at the end of the wedding or the end of the funeral,
Gotcha.
they let you out row by row.
But you know, we're black people. When it says time to go,
No, I know.
we're jetting. It's out of there. All right, look, you know, we didn't exactly cover the slide thing you have, and these are all the questions. Is there anything else? I know some things that maybe on the slides you want to show. We have covered way more than we expected. Look,
Okay, well, that's good.
people, if anybody's got other questions and whatnot, I've learned some things I didn't expect tonight. So if there's anything else that we got, I'm looking across, and we've got a tremendous response across all our social media platforms. Unbelievable tonight.
There is a question about an individual who is highly allergic, they have anaphylaxis. Should they take the shot, the
Yeah,
vaccine?
that's another very, very good question. So if you're allergic to something in the vaccine, and that's not very likely. So the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine, there are some proteins. I think there's some sucrose, a sugar, but most things that people are hyper allergic to are proteins. And unfortunately, most of us would not have seen any of these proteins.
Gotcha.
And so they're not associated with any foods that people are allergic to. They're not associated with dust or environmental materials that people are allergic to. So my son is very, very allergic to a number of foods. He's now 24 and he just outgrew shellfish and eggs and milk. But he's highly allergic to nuts and all these other things.
Okay.
And we talked about this, and he's going to take the vaccine because there's nothing in the vaccine where the proteins are related to anything that he's allergic to. And for that point, most things that people are allergic to that are not there. Now, having said that, people are allergic to certain drugs. Again, you would not know it unless you had the drug. My wife is allergic to sulfa drugs. She didn't know that until she had to get a sulfa antibiotic.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. All right. We got another question popped up. It says,
oh, by the way, when you get the vaccine, they will make you wait 15 minutes to a half hour just to make sure that there isn't a reaction.
Okay. All right. They say explain the 90-day wait if you have recovered from COVID. I guess it's a 90-day wait before you take the vaccine. Well, I guess it's a two-part because some people feel like if they've had COVID, they don't need the shot. And then folks who said folks who have had it, might have to wait 9 days to get it. So both sides of that.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. So first of all, if you've had it, we've not studied any of those people to know what kind of immunity they have.
Okay.
So they got it, they recovered. We don't know what part of the virus that their immune system keyed in on.
Okay.
It could be part of the spike, it could be part of the RNA, it could be the fatty cell that the RNA is in the middle of. We don't know. And so we're waiting for the immune system to calm down so that we can reintroduce another part of the virus that we know, and then watch the immune reaction to that.
Okay.
So it won't take away from anything that you had, but in order for it to work, we have to make sure that the immune response is gone. Otherwise, we're not sure what would happen. It's like the terrible example, but it's the thing that's in my head right now. If you flush the toilet, you don't flush it again until the tanks fill back up with water. You have to wait for the cycle to finish. If you flush it in the middle of the cycle, it screws everything up.
Yes, not enough water coming. Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't know. And so you can wait 90 days. You've been doing okay so far with the masks and the washing of the hands and everything and the distancing. And so you wait until then. There was one other point about getting the, I'll think of it at another time.
All right. All right. So we definitely want to be done by 7:30 Central, 7:21. We don't be an hour. But
and by the way, we can revisit aspects of this. There's a lot of information that is coming out at people. Okay. That's why what you're doing, Dr. Miner, is so important. There's a lot of information out there. People are trying to translate it. Some of it is not true. So you're not necessarily going to get everything in one take. And I know that. Okay. So we can do again. People shouldn't.
Oh, okay. Like I got witnesses. So he's volunteering to come back now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we can get other experts if people want specific knowledge.
Okay.
I or others can find those experts for those folks.
All right. All right. Well, look, I think this is all our question things that we have. Is that Dr. Vereen, is there anything else that you would like to share before I come with our closing remarks and everything? And look, it's like church too. I want to remind everyone, please complete our survey. Even if you're on Facebook, we posted it there. Complete the survey. We'll know how we're doing about the webinar. So Dr. Vereen, is there anything else before I come back with our closing remarks?
Yeah, I'm going to add something that actually has to do with politics. I said some things that sort of pointed the finger at our federal government. That wasn't so much politics. I was stating a fact that the government let us down. There was a question that you sent me about, well, what about China?
Oh,
you know, yes. What about China? What did they do? Wow. Well, the dictatorship there says, you know what? We're on a lockdown. No discussion. And everybody's going to get tested. And we're going to trace. So that's the difference.
It wouldn't work here in America.
Yeah, and I'm not going to get into, because some of it is honest, I don't feel it, or I need to see more of the consequences for this to hit me, because this is an invisible monster we're dealing with.
Exactly.
It's invisible. And so, but our government can still be doing things. And so even though we're talking about a health issue, there is health in all policies. And so we should be taking some lessons. There were some fantastic questions that exposed how we were unprepared. Wealthiest nation on earth, and we were not prepared. And people have paid the ultimate price because we were unprepared. And so that's something to think about. What are those things that we're missing that should be in place as we suffer through this, but we're stronger we'll be stronger at the end of this.
I was watching a documentary about the 1917 Spanish flu.
Yes.
And, that I got the same take from that as well.
Yeah. So we'll get through this.
Okay.
But we need to be prepared as a community, as the American community.
Okay.
As our community, in North Mississippi, South Tennessee, our Black community. So let's not forget what needs to be in place for the whole community. That includes research, that includes all the things that we've talked about.
Okay. All right, everyone. Look, wherever you are, you can do this where you're at, or you can put your little things up there. And we want to thank Dr. Vereen for just enlightening us. So thank you. And look, so we're going to give him one more. I'm going to remove my spotlight so we can give him the full spotlight. That's him. He's there in his home office. And we do thank his wife so much for allowing us to borrow him for this evening. Again, from the bottom of our hearts, on behalf of our president, Dr. Jerry Young, and all of us good National Baptists, we thank you for enlightening us on tonight. All right? Okay, everybody. Look, we covered a lot of ground tonight. We thank him again, Dr. Vereen, for enlightening us. We can find additional information on our website, which is hopenbc.com. We have a whole page about COVID-19 there. We also want to remind you about one of our sponsors. Let me slide to the side here. All of Us Research Program. Be one of the million. This is a very innovative program that's seeking to enroll 1 million or more people. You can learn more about this at joinallofus.org/together, or go to our website. I'm enrolled, I'm a part of it, and things like we're doing now with this COVID-19, as we're going through this process with this All of Us Research Program, we'll find better and more creative ways of getting things done. And I'm hoping that my team members, in just a second here, before we leave, have their mask on so we can highlight our All of Us Research Program. If not, they can always turn their cameras off. We're also thankful tonight to have one of our national team members, Emeritus, Sister Fannie Fair from Dallas, Texas, on with us. So thank you so much for joining us, Sister Fair. She has for a long time assisted us in our national health fair. And also we're working with her to bring her in our Midwest area, Sister Teresa Fales in the Detroit area. Thank you for joining us tonight. And I also have others that have joined us on the Zoom call and just been overblown for the people who have been on Facebook and YouTube. There'll be additional questions. We'll try our best to respond to them. All right, we have some upcoming webinars. Now, February is first Sunday in February is National Black HIV/AIDS Sunday. And it's also National Black HIV/AIDS Day. We have a webinar coming up on February 4th. That's at 11 a.m. Central Time. We'll share more information with you close to that about Black women and HIV/AIDS. And then on Thursday, February 18th, we'll have another one about HIV/AIDS in the South. So you can find more information about that as we prepare for that. The second Sunday in February is Wear Red Sunday. We know many of us are virtual. Still take your screenshots. Wear red for women and heart health. That is the second Sunday in February. Look, I talk fast because I'm a Baptist preacher. If you didn't catch any of that stuff, go to our website, hopenbc.com. Oh, look the other way. Let me slide to the other direction. There it is, hopenbc.com. If you go there, you'll get it all taken care of. And look, we want you all to mask up. And we are also sharing about the All of Us Research Program. And we're going to add more spotlights. We have our Assistant National Director, Pastor Bernard Montgomery. He has his mask. And there is our person who put all this together for us tonight, Sister Bettina Campbell. She has her mask. And Sister Campbell is making sure that she's representing. And we thank her for connecting us with Dr. Vereen. So there it is. Sister Campbell has said, and she wants to remind everybody to have your mask on. And also about All of Us Research Program. And we bring Pastor Montgomery back up because he has taken his first shot. And guess what? He's still alive. He hadn't grown any hair, anything. So another shot didn't adversely affect him. All right, there we go. So thank you, Pastor Montgomery, for that. All right, we have fun in what we're doing. It is our Facebook page. Like us on our Facebook page. We're on Twitter. We have a YouTube channel. We have some training material. Go out there and look. We always want to give a shout out to all of our team members. Sister Lottie Miner, you might know she might be slightly related to me. Pastor Dexter Moraney, Sister Ellen McKnight, Sister Dr. Felisa Washington, Minister Geraldine Moore, Dr. Desi Levy, Sister Linda Copper, Sister Loretta Miller, Dr. Lavora Williams, and Sister Michelle Johnson. We thank God for our team. And once again, we do acknowledge our president, Dr. Jerry Young, who has us envisioning the future exceptionally. We thank you all for joining us. And those that are on Zoom, we will just stay on for a few minutes for a wind down. So just hang out. But for all of you all that are watching us on our Facebook and YouTube channels, we just been overblown by all of you all for your questions and for your support. And again, we want you to stay safe, wear your mask. God bless and God keep you is our prayer. Thank you for joining this webinar produced by the National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated, the nation's largest African-American denomination.